I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Congratulations, brother.
And here we go.
Yo, I'm back. It's been a minute. It's been 2 weeks now since I've gotten in front of the camera and I've pretty much talked football, talked New York Jets. If you didn't know what was going on with me, I did put a post out there, man. We got hit by Hurricane Beryl. Supposed to be a Category 1, but that thing wind up just fucking us up. Like it really beat up Houston pretty bad. Massive power outages, man. We didn't have power for about a week. So yeah, man. Then right after it came back on, we took a trip to Florida, a little family vacation. Went out there to go ahead and chop it up with some family members I haven't seen in a while, and of course to meet some new ones that got discovered through 23andMe. Pretty awesome stuff. But yeah, ultimately. It's Tuesday, man. It's time for the Hangar Hangout. A lot to talk about, but I decided to just kind of like open it up to you guys. I put the link already in the group in the chat if you want to jump on, talk ball. We're gonna talk Aaron Rodgers. We're gonna talk Hassan Reddick. We're gonna talk about the AFC East. Probably won't be a long episode tonight, you know what I'm saying? Because again, I see the majority of you already got most of your news through some of the outlets have been coming out. But if you want to kind of jump on, share your thoughts, love to have you on. Um, and also, I recently kicked off memberships for the channel. So I'm trying to go ahead and go more official, do big boy things, and had the opportunity to go ahead and create memberships. Wanted to go ahead and make sure when I did this, I was able to actually provide content that's worthwhile to you guys. And I feel like I was able to go ahead and get into a place right now in life to where I opened it up and I'm going to be able to go ahead and stand by it and provide back to those of you who are members. I'm calling the members of my channel Gunny's Fire Team. We've got the Fire Team Charlie, Fire Team Bravo, and Fire Team Alpha in homage to my Marine Corps roots. Nevertheless, wanted to make sure y'all were tracking that, man. We've got memberships. It's official. We're live. Doing some cool stuff in regards to giveaways for specific channel members, as well as a fantasy football league where channel members have early access to. That's going to have a autographed Jets memorabilia prize for the league champion. So if you're interested in that, check that out. Love to go ahead and have you guys as channel members. But let's get right to it, man. Like, what a couple of weeks, right? Training camp is official. We're getting closer and closer to football, what it really matters most. And for me, I think it's been a long time coming, right? We had to deal with the whole Aaron Rodgers thing with him missing mini camp, and he got in front of a camera most recently. And it kind of sounds like Aaron Rodgers was annoyed, man. Like he was annoyed in regards to that whole ordeal having even been a massive situation. It should have never got to that point, and it appears to be the case. I'm kind of curious to kind of get your thoughts on it, man. But before we do that, let's go ahead and welcome some individuals. What's up, Dark Soldier? Yeah, man, it's been a little bit, man. But I'm back. Like I said before, man, that was between the hurricane and the family vacation, 2 weeks is a long time, man. But everything is all good. The family is healthy. My friends and my family, everybody I know out here in the Houston area is back online in terms of power. They're back home. Homes are safe. People are safe. So that's good. Appreciate y'all being patient, you know what I'm saying, so I can go ahead and get back in the grind of things. Infrared, what's up, brother? How you doing? Stack, nice to see you in here with us. Infrared, what's good? Yeah, we're Gucci now, man. We got power, as you can tell. You know what I'm saying? Everything's lit up. We've got internet. It's crazy, though. I will say this. It was very crazy to me how disconnected I think we would be in society if we didn't have electricity or the internet. I don't know if we're wired or able to kind of go back to a time before we had these things. It was completely chaotic and very, very uncomfortable. My kids, once the power came back on, you would have thought I just took them to Disney World or something like that. That just goes to show they've never known an era where there wasn't, Wi-Fi or internet or anything like that. I digress, but we're good, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Getting ready for some great takes by Gunny. I cracked open a cold one. Yeah, man. I got myself a little of Don Q rum and some Coke. We're gonna just talk Jets, man. Again, I put the invite if y'all want to jump on there and kind of share some of your thoughts. But I'm gonna start with the Aaron Rodgers interview that recently happened, where he kind of came to light, spoke about what his intentions are for the next couple of years. He spoke about the freaking time he had in Egypt. I love the fact that he felt so comfortable and to joke around about the situation. And he talked about how the Egypt trip, what it meant to him, how long it's been playing, kind of gave you some details. But it seems as if what the majority of us were talking about is exactly how he felt, right? The delivery of how the news was put out there was what was the biggest deal in regards to the whole thing. It was the delivery of Coach Salah, man. Like, think about that. If Coach Salah knew, and per this interview, he knew, about him taking this trip, why would you then wait to when he misses mandatory minicamp to then bring it up to the media and state like it's an inexcused absence when it was something he was fully aware of from the very beginning when the schedule was released? I think a lot of individuals who have had their apprehensions about Coach Salah, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about, right? In terms of him being more strategic in his process and how he handles the team. That's something right there that could have been a non-factor had he simply stated during OTAs, hey, we're glad to have Rodgers here while he's here. We do know that during minicamp, he's going to be taking a trip that he's been planning for several years. We're okay with it. It'll be inexcused, but we're aware of it and we're tracking it. But he's here right now during OTAs, putting in the extra work. That in itself could have gone a long way to alleviating so many freaking question marks and stories. And it made Aaron Rodgers look like he wasn't really putting in the work to be there or wasn't a team player. You already saw the haters that he already has take advantage of that particular storyline. He seemed annoyed. And in all actuality, I don't blame him, man. I don't blame him for being annoyed. Him speaking on it, I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought, you know what? If he's speaking on it, it's obviously something that he felt really bothered him. And he spoke on it in a platform that everyone can now see outside of the Jets facility. So eventually, I think Salah's going to see it, and I hope they talk about it. You kind of hope these things don't turn into something you don't want it to turn into. I'm not looking for there to be an entire freaking situation where Aaron Rodgers and Coach Salah are at rifts, right? Again, Coach Salah, yeah, I got to say he dropped the bag on that opportunity. The way it was delivered wasn't the smartest. He could have done a better job, in my opinion, in most opinions, in delivering that news, especially since he's known about it for as long as he has. So I don't know how you feel about the situation. Do you think that Coach Salah was in the wrong in the delivery of why Aaron Rodgers wasn't at mandatory minicamp? Do you think Rodgers should have still been there? I've seen some individuals talk about Rodgers should have moved that Egypt trip back or whatever the case might be. Listen, I don't know who's in the wrong or who's in the right personally. If I'm being honest, I don't think it's a big deal. I didn't think it was a big deal when it happened. I didn't think it was a big deal when all the media outlets came out and made a mountain out of a molehill. I still don't think it's a big deal. Aaron Rodgers took a trip. This is a proven veteran, a guy who knows what he needs to be doing. He's already built rapport with the wide receivers currently on the roster. Yeah, would you like him to be there? Would you want him to have some more time with a Malachi Corley, with Garrett Wilson, fine-tuning some of those nuances to their game? So again, when we go into the regular season, things are flowing as smooth as possible. Well, of course, yeah, you would love to do that, right? But at the end of the day, that's not what happened. But am I going to sit here and tell you that him missing mandatory minicamp automatically means the season is a rip, like it's over? This is going to be the reason we miss the playoffs or he plays poorly throughout the season? No. I think you've got to look at it in terms of context and just be real with it. Yeah. Would you like to have him there? It would have been cool. Is it something that you're worried about when it comes to your four-time MVP, first ballot Hall of Fame, 20-year veteran who's got the most experience of all quarterbacks in the NFL? Him missing a couple of days, is that really a big deal? Him missing those days in freaking May, then when it comes to the season popping off? I don't think so. And I think if you're being logical about it, I don't think you believe that either. But it's Aaron Rodgers. He's one of those guys that just pretty much I don't know, man. Like the guy just draws attention, whether it's negative, positive. People love to love him, people love to hate him. I don't know if there's really much of an in between. But if you're being that individual who's looking at it without, whichever goggles you have on for Rodgers, it's really a non-factor. But I do think that Aaron Rodgers was bothered by it because at the end of the day, had it been portrayed to us the right way, I don't know if it's ever becomes a big deal. I don't know if it ever gets to the point that it got, but nevertheless, it did, which some people will say, same old Jets, they're freaking dysfunctional or whatever the case might be. But I don't think it's a big deal. I hope it doesn't impact them more into training camp. You're seeing Aaron Rodgers show up today in a training camp, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be a big deal. But it kind of goes into the second portion of that interview, man. Aaron Rodgers, and again, I had clips of the interview. I wanted to share it, but y'all need to bear with me here since the channel just got remonetized. I kind of got to go back through what I can or can't do. I know there's some things that have changed now, and I'm going to have to go ahead and figure that out so I can decide whether or not I can play specific videos and clips for you guys. So I'll get that figured out, as time goes on. But and now I'm going to go ahead and pretty much paraphrase it. But in a nutshell, he kind of spoke about how, in terms of what he's hoping to do with the Jets, was to go ahead and play 2 good years, bring 2 Super Bowls. I love the way he said that. Bring 2 Super Bowls to the Jets so he can retire a New York Jet. So this doesn't look like a situation where Aaron Rodgers is even looking to the next opportunity, right? Or moving on to the next thing. It looks like for him, it has been about being a New York Jet. And I, for one, got to admit, that's comforting to me. Aaron Rodgers really came here with a pure focus of winning a Super Bowl. He came here with a pure focus of bringing a trophy to freaking New York, or as he puts it, the New Jersey Jets. He kind of wants to leave his mark and his stamp on another roster. Again, he could have done that in Green Bay, but maybe he really believed that he wasn't going to be able to do that based off of what they were putting around him. Again, he's been a New York Jet for a little under a year and change now. He's going to have 2 freaking first-round wide receivers to throw the ball to. We gave him another wide receiver in Malachi Corley. We brought him his best friend in freaking Alan Lazard to the table. He's got a top-tier running back at his disposal. We just added a slew of quality freaking offensive linemen in front of him so that we can go ahead and stand upright. Not to mention he's backed by that elite defense, right? So for me, when you look at all of it, I think this is a guy who came here because he wants to chase a ring. And to hear that as a Jets fan, you got to think to yourself, what were the Jets? People will make all the jokes they want to. They can laugh and pretend like the Jets are a shit show. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. The laughing stocks, got it. But when you look at the New York Jets dysfunction over the last few years specifically, you're looking at a team that has done extremely well in aspects of special teams and on defense. And they've done extremely well in terms of specific playmakers on offense. Garrett Wilson is an anomaly. He shouldn't have been able to, or should have ever been able to, achieve the stat lines he's achieved with the poor offensive play of our quarterback and, of course, of our offensive coordinator. And yet somehow the dude has been able to be coaching proof and quarterback proof. Breece Hall was second in scrimmage yards last season when it comes to running backs. I think he was 4th out of all out of all offensive weapons. So you've got some legitimate playmakers on this roster that are Super Bowl, like championship caliber weapons. The issue has been in the coaching aspect and in the quarterback aspect. Now, for me, I think when it comes down to the coaching, you hope Aaron Rodgers can alleviate some of those concerns. I think when it comes to the coaching, you look at him and you think, okay, this is a guy who's seen more football than most NFL offensive coordinators have. 20 plus years in the game. He understands what defenses look like. He understands what kind of plays beat certain coverages. You can't really trick the guy. So in essence, you're getting a coach and a quarterback on the field. Some people will tell you Aaron Rodgers is washed up and he's no longer going to be MVP Rodgers, but I've been on the record as saying I don't think the New York Jets need MVP caliber Aaron Rodgers for them to be a contender. Give me top 10 Rodgers. Give me the last season Aaron Rodgers had at Green Bay, and I believe with a top 3 defense, a top freaking 5 freaking special teams, those numbers with a top 5 running game at worst with a guy like Breece Hall is going to give them a top 10 offense. a top 10 offense with a top 5 defense and a top 10 special teams, that's a recipe for success. That's a recipe to go ahead and make it to the playoffs, get through the playoffs, and make it to the big game. You don't see, I don't think the 49ers were the number one offense last year. That was I believe the Dolphins had the number one offense for them last year. How did that work out, right? Balance across the board, I think, goes a long way. So for me, Aaron Rodgers, top 10 freaking Aaron Rodgers, I'm on board with that. I think that in itself is going to be more than enough with this particular talent or level of talent around him. But the fact that he came out and said his goal is to go ahead and play 2 more years and freaking potentially retire a New York Jet. Now, some people say, well, that means, does the first year count? Does that mean he's not going to give us 2 more years since the first year technically is done? I think it means he really believes he's going to play 2 more years. I know a part of him stated that, yeah, for sure he knows he's playing this year. I got that. But I think if Aaron Rodgers has fun this year, I think if Aaron Rodgers, gets through an entire season, there's no reason why we have to believe or could believe that he couldn't potentially be here again on another contract for the following year. Some people would love it. Some people would hate it. I personally think another year in the system or another year as our quarterback, maybe Jordan Travis learns a little bit more and he surprises us and he becomes a respectable freaking starter. I don't know. I know the kid did amazing at the collegiate level. I'm hoping for the best when it comes to him at the NFL level, but the more time he gets to sit and learn, I'd be all about it. But maybe we go into the draft and we find, the next individual this coming draft, and we're able to go ahead and put him behind Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. It just gives just more options and more opportunities. I think Aaron Rodgers for the next 2 years would be ideal. I don't know if I feel good about it moving forward because, again, at one point or another, Father Time is going to win. And a lot of people keep looking at Tom Brady and saying Tom Brady did it. I have strong reservations about that. I do believe when it comes down to it, Tom Brady was the exception, not the rule. And if we keep going down that freaking path, we might find ourselves kind of embarrassing ourselves or being upset because Father Time is undefeated. And the last thing we need is to go ahead and see Aaron Rodgers get hit by Father Time, 2 years into a 4-year extension. So again, if he wants to play this year and the next year, I think that would be ideal. I don't know how y'all feel about it. I know a lot of individuals think he should be a 1-year deal. Some would want him until he's 45 years old. I just think at some point or right now you're playing with fire. Father Time is undefeated. Don't know how long you would want to push that. I mean, do you want to push him for the life of the youth we have currently on the roster? Maybe. You know what I'm saying? You take that route. But Aaron Rodgers wanted to be here for 2 years. So what do you guys think about that? Aaron Rodgers wants to be a New York Jet, wants to play for the New York Jets, good football for 2 years. Do you think he counts last year as being one of those years, or do you see him being on the roster for a little bit longer? But yeah, that's the whole Aaron Rodgers aspect. But you saw him come in today. Dude look good, man. Rodgers looked good. He looks excited. I thought it was hilarious. If you didn't see it, I really don't know if this is gonna be a big deal. Not that it will, but if you didn't see it, Aaron Rodgers rolled up today, rocking a Sphinx shirt. Right? It's funny to me because it almost looks like he was giving a big just a big middle finger to everybody who was questioning where he was at, making a big deal about him not being there. I thought personally it was freaking awesome. He looks great. He looks in shape. He's walking without a limp. He had on those weird thong sandals. I'm not sure how people feel about that. I'm not a big fan of it, but he had them on. I prefer the slides without the little thong thing between your toes. But again, whatever. His feet didn't look, hindered in any way. He's walking smoothly. The dude feels good. I personally am okay with Aaron Rodgers being our quarterback for the next couple of years. I also believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to surprise a lot of individuals here when he steps onto the field because what happened last year was unfinished business. The last year he got to wear the uniform, Aaron Rodgers finished with top 10 stat lines, but people keep forgetting that he played with a broken thumb, and he also had a receiving core that led the league in most drop passes and led the league in most accurately thrown drop passes. So a lot of that leads me to believe that, yeah, you can blame it on Aaron Rodgers falling off, but it seems like a lot of his supporting cast wasn't up to par when it came to him in that 2022 season. But I digress. I still can't wait for him to get out there. At this point, I'm just getting to the point where I just want to see him play football because I'm just sick and tired of talking about it. The haters are going to believe what they want to believe. If they want to die on the hill that he's walked, let them die on that hill. Hopefully, we can go ahead and watch them suffocate on said hill this season. The Hassan Reddick situation. So I'm seeing somebody brought it up, so we're going to jump right into it. That was also on the radar for the day. Hassan Reddick, man, this one's annoying. This one's really annoying. I got a question here from Sean. I think so. He's saying, "What Hassan Reddick's new contract going to be? Can we just give him 15 to 17 million this year for 1 year deal? Do we have that money?" So, well, I'm going to answer the questions and I'm going to give my thoughts on the whole Hassan Reddick situation. So, Hassan Reddick does not want that. Hassan Reddick wants anywhere from 25 to 28 million dollars per year, and he's looking for a 3-year deal. Do we have 15 to 17 mil? Yes. Do we have the 25 to 28 million dollars? Yes, with a couple of restructures, we could get there. But I think I'm going to lose a lot of people when I'm about to say next. All right. So, do I think we should give Hassan Reddick 25 to 28 million dollars a year? No. I don't. And I might be in the minority, I don't know, but I'm going to explain to you why, right? So, I believe the Hassan Reddick addition was huge, right? I think that bringing him in, you're talking about a guy who has been in the top 4 in sacks over the last 3 years, a guy who's going to bring a nonstop motor. I think he could be an asset to this defensive line. In many respects, when you look at it, he makes this team a Super Bowl contender, just like Aaron Rodgers makes this team a Super Bowl contender. But in all actuality, I believe Howie Roseman has done an incredible job in identifying talent, understanding when to make that move. It's very similar to when the Patriots would let go of players just before they fell off of a cliff, and people would sit there and look at them and be like, what were they thinking? And sure enough, those individuals were no longer the same type of individuals that they were in their peak and in their prime. Hassan Reddick is a edge player who depends primarily on his speed to get to the quarterback. And he's done an incredible job the last few years doing exactly that. At 29 years old, there is a point to where we look at these speed guys and we expect that fall off to come. He's undersized, right? He's got some shorter arms. So he doesn't have the extreme length you would want to see. Yes, he's got some elite bend, and that's going to be a product that he gets to keep for quite some time before it falls off. But the speed aspect, right? That initial burst concerns me. I don't want to lock this guy in for a 3 to 4 year contract, not knowing whether or not he's going to give us elite production that he's been putting up. Do I think he's washed? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I think Hassan Reddick's washed. I'm simply saying that for the price point he's asking, $25 to $28 million, I'm not comfortable giving him that money because Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson are all going to need to get paid. And we're going to be eating from, giving Hassan the money means that 1 or 2 of those guys won't get paid. Giving Hassan Reddick that money now means you definitively can't go ahead and re-sign DJ Reed or a freaking Michael Carter. So both cornerbacks are up for contracts right now where you're only going to be able to keep one. I think we all know that. I'm team Mike Carter. Some people are team DJ Reed. I'm not mad at either or. I love both of those guys. But if you give the money to freaking Hassan Reddick, who's never played a down for the New York Jets, you're now missing on an opportunity to give it to one of those guys. And it could also impact your financial decisions moving forward. Listen, man, Hassan Reddick is not going to hold out for the entire training camp. Hassan Reddick is not going to miss freaking football games. I think it's $50,000 a day for training camp that he's going to miss. And of that 50 G's, none of it is refundable. Like, back in the day, like when Darrelle Revis freaking missed all of training camp, right? They were able to go ahead and pretty much squash that, redo the contract. My man got paid, and they wiped away the freaking all the fines from him missing those days. Well, since the new agreement, man, that's changed. You can't do that no more. Since the new collective bargaining agreement, if a player that's under contract doesn't show up to training camp, that fine is the fine. It's set in stone. $50,000 per day missed. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if he signs, or he shows up for day 1 of freaking, the season or day 20 of freaking training. It doesn't matter. He's going to be out 50 G's per freaking day he misses. If you ask me, a guy who's in this for making more money, who's really focused on the money aspect, is not going to risk losing all that money that he could make. Even if he got the new deal, he's still going to pay all that freaking money. So you mean to tell me he's going to gamble having to pay 50 G's a day to hold out? He's going to gamble on potentially being ready enough to go ahead and put quality numbers up on tape so he can legitimately get the bag next year, whether it's with us or preferably another team. He's going to risk all that when everything he's doing right now is about money. Hassan Reddick isn't somebody who's contemplating retirement. He's not contemplating freaking leaving the sport of football. This is a guy right now who wants more money. The Jets apparently made an offer to him before they traded him, but the Jets also, it's conflicting now, right? I've gotten to the point where I don't know which is which. First, we heard that before the trade was made, they talked to Hassan Reddick. They explained to him the situation financially. He understood the game. He was on board, was excited to come play here, prove his worth with this defensive scheme, this defensive line to chase the bag. He gets to the Jets facility. He apparently told everybody, listen, I'm excited. I'm here to play. I understand the kind of situation is blah, 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 but I'm going to be at OTAs. I'm going to be at minicamp. We know that didn't work out. He missed both. So then now you're hearing that the Jets had offered him a contract. He denied the contract, but Joe D still said, you know what? We're going to bring you on anyway and hopefully figure the contract situation out on the back end. When you already knew if his price point was $25 to $28 million, it wasn't going to be feasible. Like, there's so much going on out there. And again, there's probably some truth in it somewhere in there, but I don't know what to believe. When it comes to the Hassan Reddick situation, I honestly want to remind people that we have Coach Saleh and Ulbrich as coaches on this team. Now, if we were talking about Tyron Smith or Garrett Wilson or Mike Williams or Aaron Rodgers, right, an offensive component as being what the issue was or didn't show up to training camp, I'd freak out then. I would legitimately worry then. I would look at it and be concerned because, man, on the offensive side of the football, there is one thing we know as Jets fans. We have no clue what the hell we're doing. We don't have the confidence in the coaching staff to be able to run a functional freaking NFL caliber offense. It's been years since we've seen it. We would be concerned. I'd be concerned. I'd be freaking out. But that's not the case. The case is a defensive line, again, a guy who's going to be great, a great edge presence on our roster, is not at training camp, threatening to hold out. We've seen the same coaches we're talking about, Ulbrich and freaking Saleh, make Huff into borderline Pro Bowler, a guy who got the bag going to Philadelphia. We've seen JFM, who was less than mid prior to coming to this system. Boom. Now the dude's a freaking baller. He got traded to Denver and whatnot. Highly sought after. He's probably going to put up some numbers there too. We know what these guys can do when it comes to defense. This is a defense that went from dead last in the league to top 3 in the league overnight, one season, after they were able to get their hands on individual players. So I'm not worried about the defense. I'm just not. I understand why people are freaking out. I understand the impact Hassan Reddick can have if he's here. I get that. But for me, if I'm going to trust this coaching staff to do anything correctly, that's going to be freaking coach up this defense. That's going to be to see, okay, what does freaking Will McDonald have? We got a couple of freaking undrafted free agents that we brought in. Let's go ahead and see what these guys have. I believe they're going to find the other diamond in the rough to go ahead and throw into the rotation. And I get it. We've got Jermaine Johnson, who I think is a stud. I think Will McDonald last year, I think he was like 17% pressure pass rush win rate. 22% in terms of pressures. Dude had 3 sacks in very, very limited snaps. So everything we saw in just a very, very small portion of scale last year was very promising. So if you stretch that out over an entire freaking season, the kid can be a dog. If he can carry that, he could be a dog. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's the next freaking TJ Watt or anything ridiculous like that. He's not the next Myles Garrett. I'm going to be calm about that, but I do believe Will McDonald can produce. I do believe Will McDonald's going to be able to go ahead and take up the mantle and get after the quarterback and cause some chaos when it comes to being on this defensive line. I think there's somebody else in that defensive line room who the Jets are going to look at and think to themselves, boom, we're going to go ahead and make you into a dog. I think Kinlaw is going to go ahead and kind of like rejuvenate his career here, as we've seen other freaking veteran defensive linemen come, and somehow, some way, the Jets have found ways to find or bring them to another level when it comes to playing on this defensive line. I get it, man. The Hassan Reddick thing, it's frustrating. It's not for anything. It's frustrating that on the first day of training camp, where we have 100% accountability, the 99% accountability, the 1% was freaking Hassan Reddick. It's frustrating. Do I think Hassan Reddick makes our team better? Without question. I'd be a fool if I sat here and told you like Hassan Reddick ain't all that, blah, blah. People who are saying trade Hassan Reddick, I think we need to calm down. I don't know if that's the route we want to go. If it happens, I get it, right? Recoup the asset that we potentially lost. But I think Hassan Reddick is a difference maker on this defensive line. I think he could be a defensive playmaker for us. I just don't know if I believe in paying the man long term because of what his elite skill set is, which is his speed, right? We keep saying Tyreek Hill, oh man, elite speed. Eventually it's going to fall off. But this is a guy who puts a lot of money into his body every freaking offseason to maintain that speed. The dude is still going to collegiate freaking track meets and competing at an Olympic level when it comes to freaking running track. He's trying to maintain that speed as much as possible. A guy like Hassan Reddick, who's a much bigger dude, listen, that fall off is going to come a little bit quicker because it's already unnatural for a guy that big to move that fast. So it's only going to come more natural whenever his cliff comes. And I don't think it's worth risking. Now, if you're telling me we're going to go ahead and bring in Hassan Reddick, we're going to guarantee his current contract, add some incentives. A lot of what they did with the Cleveland Browns today, they did with freaking Amari Cooper, right? They restructured his contract a little bit. I'm for that, man. I'm with that. I think if the game plan is to make him happy, to show up and practice, let's do that. Let's do that. If you're going to give him some more money to practice, if you want to go ahead and give him $20 million fully guaranteed for this season, let's do that, right? Like, I understand the thought process. I just think we're talking about multiple years. The guy hasn't played it down for the New York Jets. We don't know if the freaking Philadelphia Eagles kind of saw something happening. I will say this. When you watch the tape of the dude last season, you kind of saw towards the back half of the year where he kind of disappeared. Right? Is that him falling off a cliff? The defense, these offenses start, operating plays away from his side. There's many ways you can look at it. But in terms of production, towards the back half of the season last year, between, I want to say from when I was in November, December to the end of the year, he kind of disappeared. And for me, that's concerning. That's concerning, man. I just don't know if we got to go that route. I don't think we have to go that route. And I think if we play the game right, this is a guy who's going to show up, because $50,000 a day is a lot. That is a lot of money, especially when you're talking about for a guy that is focused on making more money. So I don't believe he's going to hold out for all of training camp. He's definitively not going to go ahead and miss games when game days start, because if you miss games, you're talking about game checks now. You're going to throw away game checks. And the more you do this, the less opportunities you have to put on film for you to get the bag next year, because you got to play a specific amount of games for you to get credit for the year anyway. No matter what, Hassan Reddick is playing for the New York Jets this year, or they trade him, right? But again, I don't think that's the move. I think Hassan Reddick makes this defense definitively better. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But for everybody freaking out, why? We've seen, if you were going to ever believe this coaching staff is capable of doing anything right, they've proven to you that what they can do right is defense. What they can do right is find the diamonds in the rough and make them football players. I mean, we're mad that we let Huff go. We forgot that Huff was an undrafted free agent that they had to go ahead and mold, cultivate, and freaking develop. JFM, we're upset about that. And by that, I mean, I am too. I think if we had just re-signed freaking Huff, we're not even here, right? Had we just re-signed Huff, who's younger, who is potentially on the trajectory of what we hope, you know what I'm saying, he can be, which is pretty much freaking Reddick. The hope is for him to become Reddick. I don't know if we're really upset about this. We wouldn't care about Hassan Reddick not being here. We wouldn't even know about the Hassan Reddick situation. I think if we had Huff, a lot of these concerns are alleviated. Heck, I think if we had JFM, I don't really know if we're freaking out about this as much as people are freaking out about it. But the fact is this, we don't have those two guys. Reddick matters. And I think this is why we're freaking out. Now, the New York Jets defensive scheme, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, I saw somebody say something like, well, why would the Jets bring in Reddick if they really thought they had something in McDonald? I think the way the defensive scheme is played out is you need to have 3 quality edge players in the rotation to make this defensive line go. I think that's the argument. That's the focal point. So I do believe Will McDonald is going to ball out. I'm excited to see Will McDonald get some freaking time with the ones during training camp. I think this is a way for him to take advantage of this opportunity. He might shock a lot of us, man. Like I think Will McDonald might shock a lot of us. But man, I can't get behind signing freaking Hassan Reddick long term. And I see a few of you guys agree, so I'm glad I'm not the only one dying on this hill. But I'm not freaking out about it, man. I'm not. I wasn't concerned about it when there were issues at OTAs. I wasn't concerned about it when there were issues in minicamp. And now that he's missed training camp, all right, man, I get it. You got to chase the bag. You got to do what you can do for yourself. But as a Jets fan, as a New York Jets fan, I think signing Hassan Reddick could be detrimental to what we can do in terms of the core of our roster. Right? And I know everybody's saying, man, fuck all that. We're just trying to go ahead and make a run for the Super Bowl. Cool. But if we don't get there, are we okay with starting again because we wind up losing quality players like a Sauce Gardner, quality players like a freaking Garrett Wilson? We can't re-sign Jermaine Johnson. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, we want to start back all over again. We're willing to lose potentially 2 stars. Is Hassan Reddick worth losing 2 stars over? Is the way I would look at it, right? For us to have him on the back end of his career for the next 3 years. And if you look at it that way, man, I don't see how anybody who's a Jets fan can get behind that. I'm not. I want to see him. I want to see him here, man. I do. I want to see him in Jets green. I do. But in terms of this whole situation, how everybody's blowing it up and they're freaking out. Listen, the one thing this coaching staff has proven to all of you that they're competent at is defense. So in the words of Aaron Rodgers, relax. Just relax. Hassan Reddick will be there. He's going to play snaps for the Jets. I believe that. I believe that to be the case. I'm more concerned of what this offense looks like and if anybody on offense misses time. And I think, honestly, that should be the concern if you're a Jets fan. I see nobody's getting on today. Nobody wants to jump on the pod. I mean, I'm over here talking to myself. I guess I haven't done this in a while. It's a good practice. Got to make sure that I freaking keep fluid in these conversations. All right, so that's the Hassan Reddick situation. So we're talking about the offense. Garrett Wilson had to fight for his 1,000. He had more yards than Waddle last season. I can see A-Rod take full advantage. Yeah, 100% infrared. I think so. I'm seeing a lot of individuals talk about the Devontae Adams edition, and again, I'm 100% on board with the Devontae Adams edition if the price is right. Right. So a lot of talk right now. You've been hearing the snippets of Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, and you're seeing Devontae Adams kind of like play along with it. Aaron Rodgers at the golfing thing talking about, I can't wait to play with him again. I don't think you say all that stuff, man, if there isn't some kind of conversation in the works. But I'm with you on this one. I think Garrett Wilson, let's say we don't bring in Devontae Adams, although I do believe there's a chance he does become a New York Jet. Let's say we don't bring in Devontae Adams and it's Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson just finished, I think, 72 in the NFL Top 100. So the NFL Top 100, in case you weren't aware, is picked by the players, right? So the players dictate who can be on this thing. And in order for you to be in that 72 range, that means you had players picking you as high as like 50, as worse as like 100. So it does an overall average of where players think of you as other NFL players think of you as a player. So to be at 72 in year 2 with one of the worst offenses in all of football because of poor coaching and no quarterback play. Garrett Wilson being on this list speaks volumes as to the level of talent this guy has. You're going to see that almost every other wide receiver taken ahead of him are in high-powered offenses. I can almost guarantee it. You're going to see every other wide receiver taken ahead of freaking Garrett Wilson are in high-powered offenses. But Garrett Wilson will be probably the only wide receiver on this list with a 31st ranked offense. That was the Jets offense last year. I think 30th or 31st. I think Garrett Wilson this year is going to be lights out. I'm talking stupid lights out. I'm talking about top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And it wouldn't shock me if my man creeps into the top 3. I think when you look at the wide receivers in the NFL, I think the consensus top 3 guys are Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and you got to go with Jamar Chase, although Amon St. Brown is really growing on me. I think he's close. But it's JJ, Tyreek Hill, Amon St. Brown, Jamar Chase. You can go either way, right? I think Garrett Wilson can be in that fourth wide receiver conversation. That's how good I think this kid is because of what he's been able to achieve with no help at coaching, with no help at the quarterback position. Over literally dealing with double teams consistently. Like, this dude has balled out for the Jets, and to see him with a competent quarterback this year is going to be awesome. But let's say the New York Jets make that trade and they bring in Davante Adams. If the New York Jets bring in Davante Adams, I don't know if there's anybody who's remotely logical when it comes to the sport of football that is not going to immediately shift focus from, oh, it's the New York Jets, to those guys are Super Bowl contenders. I know we've seen some support, which has been great. We've seen some media support talk about the New York Jets being Super Bowl contenders. I think Newsweek just did their prediction for the season. Jets at 12-5 going to the Super Bowl versus the Packers. Boom, getting the dub. Man, in the words of Jake Asman, from their lips to God's ears, I would love for that to be the case. I really would. I would love for that to be the case. I would love for us to go ahead and be able to see that Aaron Rodgers to go to the Super Bowl and it gets to be against his former team and he dominates. Man, I've been on board of saying I think the New York Jets are going to be a 10 to 11 win team. 12 wins, I'm on board for it. I would love it. It would be great. I know some of you got the Jets winning 14. I just look at the schedule. I look at the freaking division games. I do believe the Miami Dolphins are going to be a problem. I don't think the Bills are going to be as good as everybody thinks they are, but again, division game, so you really never freaking know. So I'm really kind of like just tailoring expectations. Maybe I'm just trying to protect myself, right? Protect myself. I got the Jets going 11 wins. I think 11 wins the AFC East, but I do believe it's going to get decided on that last game of the season versus the Miami Dolphins. I think whoever wins that game wins the division and secures the playoff spot, and the other might get a wild card spot. That's what I think. You're going to need 11 wins to win the AFC East. So 12-5, winning the Super Bowl, that would be, I mean, again, from their list, man, to God's ears, that will be ideal. Coming from a situation where I believe that becomes the reality if we bring in Davante Adams. Like, I think 12-5 is the ceiling for the Jets, right? If everything goes right, no injuries, you're healthy. You bring in Davante Adams, I believe like that's the mark. Like, you can win 14 games with Davante Adams. I think 12 games is like, okay, the Jets are going in 12 games. You're not going to, sneeze at that. But 14 games for me becomes my ceiling with Davante Adams. I think 14 games is enough to be first in the AFC. Davante Adams last year, man, still balling out. 30 years old, I believe. He's 30 years old, going on 31. The dude put up some freak numbers. His release is second to none. The guy is still got it. He's a guy who understands leverage, understands zones, understands how to take full advantage. I just don't see a situation or a scenario where you pair Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers and you have I. I'm gonna be honest. I think Garrett Wilson should still be considered the one, but let's just say he's 1B. We get our own version of what the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dolphins have been doing, the San Francisco 49ers are 1A to 1B. I don't know if you've got a cleaner duo in terms of route running. I I don't know if I don't think AJ Brown is a better route runner than Devontae Adams. I don't think Tyreek Hill is a better route runner than Devontae Adams. I don't believe Brandon Ayuk is a better route runner than Devontae Adams. I think Justin Jefferson, that boy runs some nice clean routes, so I would probably put him up there in that top 3 category and best route runners in the league right now. And I think Garrett Wilson is a guy who's top 10 and he's creeping into the top 5. We really won't know until you start seeing quarterbacks actually hit him when he gets open. So 2 of the best route runners on the team, 1A, 1B. I think if you're a New York Jets fan, you can't help but look at it and be like, you know what? Yeah, that's 14 wins. Man, shout out to Daniel Murphy with my first super chat of the Hangar Hangout. Hope you and the fam had a good vacay, man. Listen, brother, it was great. Again, I appreciate you guys for dealing with the lack of ability for me to get on camera for the last couple of weeks. The Hangout's been closed. But glad to be back. Training camp is kicking off today, so we're about to get things kicking off again as the season comes around. And I appreciate you, Dan, for my first super chat, bro. That's what's up. I'm gonna go ahead. I feel like I wish I could just kind of like what would you call it? Take it out and then put in one of those cases, like the first dollar for a business. I kind of do it like that. So I appreciate you, man. Good looking out. Fam had a good time. Got to meet my Marine Corps brother, Mace, also a fellow Jets fan, moved out there into Florida. That was awesome. Saw my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, you know what I'm saying? They're doing great. That was great. Then got to meet my brothers and sisters as well at the family reunion. So awesome vacation, man. Family had a blast, but you know what they say, man, there's no place like home. Couldn't wait to get back to the crib. So glad to be here. But yeah, so the Devontae Adams edition, man. I don't know if there's somebody out here who would disagree. If we bring in a Devontae Adams, what's the Jets ceiling? Right now, we're talking 10 to 11 wins with freaking Garrett Wilson as wide receiver 1. You bring in a Devontae Adams, man. This is a guy who makes mid quarterbacks look good. You're gonna have Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball. You don't think that's gonna be good for a couple more wins? Man, I actually look at it like this, right? So, Dano, wait, what? Gunny, did you get my super chat at 1 p.m.? I did not see a super chat at 1 p.m., Dano. I don't know if you're kidding right now or you're just trying to one up Dan, but I didn't see it. If I'm wrong on that, I will own that on the next episode of the Hangar Hangout. Or my next video, I'll give you that shout out that I was wrong. But I think this is the first one I've gotten was from Dan. I got 12 wins. So, okay, 12 wins and an AFC East title. Okay, all right. So 12 wins seems to be now. Are we talking about 12 wins with Garrett Wilson, or is that 12 wins with freaking Devontae Adams added to the game? Because if we're talking about 12 wins, I think if the goal is 12 wins, if you add Devontae Adams, I think we're selling ourselves short. Dano, all right, but yeah, I'm gonna take a look now. So I might be wrong. I might have to stand corrected, and then thank Dan again for the first live super chat. But Dano might get credit for the first ever super chat on the channel. So I'll take a look at that, Dano, and I'll get back to you, brother. I appreciate that. But yeah, man, I just show off. I just really think that when you look at it, it's a situation where the Jets really they could take this thing all the way, man. Let's look at the division. If we're being honest, right? So the Buffalo Bills, we've talked about this before. I saw a video today of, their new shiny wide receiver struggling to freaking sign the contract. He didn't know how to sign an NFL contract, right? Like I thought that was kind of comical personally. And again, I was a big fan of Keon Coleman coming out of college. I was one of the guys who kind of was hoping he'd drop to the second or the third and be available. But the dude's been great in terms of watching him. I think he's funny. But today, I think they showed a video of him. And to me, I don't know why you would do this if you're the Bills media team. Why you would go ahead and make this dude look dumb, because in essence, it's what they did. But Keon Coleman struggled to go ahead and sign his NFL contract, and they put that out there as if that's something you want to share with the world. I mean, again, I'm not going to read too much into it. The kid has a long way to go to fill the shoes of a Stephon Diggs, but that's their wide receiver one, right? And personally, I look at it and I think Josh Allen takes a massive step back this year. You know, I look at Josh Allen and I can't help but think of Cam Newton. And people think I'm stupid for saying that. But when you look at them, very, very similar playing styles, right? Strong arm quarterbacks, very mobile. They're freaking huge, right? Their bodies take a lot of hits because they're constantly on the run. I look at freaking Josh Allen and I can't help but think of freaking Cam Newton. Cam Newton taking all those hits eventually took a toll on him. Cam Newton is not a Super Bowl champion, right? The best roster that Josh Allen has had around him is gone. He doesn't have a top tier roster around him. You see Buffalo Bills players, doing freaking press conferences talking about, it's funny how everybody's doubting them and blah, blah. First of all, no one's doubting them. They're still the favorite to win the AFC East. They got Josh Allen, who is arguably the best quarterback in the division until proven otherwise. I think he'll take a step backwards, but if we're going to be honest, he's been the best quarterback in the division for the last freaking several years. But you lose all those pieces on offense and defense, and people really look at last year and think, oh, well, he did so good when he didn't have to throw the ball to Stephon Diggs and blah, blah. Go back and actually look at what Josh Allen did in those games. Yes, the wins came, but Josh Allen's numbers and efficiency actually dipped. I was sitting there looking at it because I was having an argument with a Bills fan, a.k.a. my uncle. And he kind of told on himself. He was like, yeah, he might have not been as efficient, but we won more games. And I went back and I thought to myself, wait, everything I've been hearing argued is how much better Josh Allen got because he didn't have to throw the ball or force the ball to freaking Stephon Diggs. So I went back. If you look at it in terms of like his per game averages, in terms of statistics, like everything is down. His accuracy is up, but like his touchdowns are down. His turnovers were slightly down, but not enough for you to warrant the decrease in touchdown production. His yards per play was down. They were winning games on the backs of defenses, but also the caliber of teams they played on that back end were not impressive teams. So a lot of that was, hey, you got, a bad slew of teams to go up against. So you won games. So I think the Bills legitimately this year, with a much harder freaking schedule than they had last year, is going to take a massive hit. That's just how I feel about it. I look at their roster, man, and it's not complete. It's not well rounded. They're going to live or die off of the arm of Josh Allen, and we all know when you got to make Josh Allen play Superman, he doesn't do it very well. So I think the Josh Allen situation is what a lot of hopes and dreams are being laid on for freaking the Bills, but Josh Allen is not Patrick Mahomes, so I don't see that going too well for them. Which is why I think they take a massive step backwards this year. So for me, I think the massive step forward is the New York Jets. Because of not only having a competent quarterback, but having a competent backup quarterback. You're also talking about a vastly improved offensive line. I think the Jets now are probably the best offensive line in the division. So I think that is going to be huge. People will say health this, health that, but again, drafting offensive linemen in Olu Fashanu goes a long way to alleviate some of those concerns as well. So I'm pumped about having that kind of a backup behind a Tyron Smith or behind Morgan Moses if one of those guys goes down, to kind of go ahead and take the reins for a little bit. The offensive line, vastly improved. You add a guy like Mike Williams, you drafted Malachi Corley. The wide receiver room has been improved. The running back room, I think has been improved. I love the tape in Braylon Allen. I love what we've seen in I forget Isaiah's name. I'm having a brain fart. But Isaiah as well, the other running back. I think both of those guys are going to be complements. Where we saw a one-headed running back room last year, and I think we were talking about the corpse of Dalvin Cook. So I think the Jets have taken a massive step forward, and Hassan Reddick being on this defensive line, the defensive line has also improved. So I look at the Jets having made the biggest step forward. I think the Miami Dolphins got worse, but they were easily, in my opinion, the best roster in the division last season. Yeah, no, I think they were the best roster in the division last season. I think we didn't want to admit it, but they had some the Devon Chain dude came out of nowhere. They had the Phillips dude decided to go ahead and block. Like they had some playmakers. Bradley Chubb showed up all of a sudden. So on paper, we thought maybe not, but as you saw those guys ball out, they had the best roster. Now, I do believe they're limited. I think they're going to live and die off the game plan that Mike McDaniel can create for his offense. I don't know if the defense is going to be better without Vic Fangio because I think Vic Fangio was criminally disrespected after he left when I thought he did a pretty decent job with what he had. So I still think, though, with that high-powered offense, it's going to be hard to go ahead and count those guys out, man. I look at the freaking Miami Dolphins, and they're like the more finesse version in terms of what the 49ers offense looks like. They're not a very physical team. Like they're the kind of team what you look like, you feel like you could potentially bully them. They just you see how they fall apart, in cold weather when they got they face off against good press man teams, man press teams, like how they throw off the entire offense. So I think they can be bullied, but in terms of the most finesse, they're probably they're the fastest team in the league. They had the number one offense in the league last year. So if you sit there and you look at that and you're going to say, I'm not worried about them, I think you're just being a homer. I'm worried about the Dolphins. For me, the division belongs to either the Dolphins or the Jets this year. I'll be honest about it. I think it's going to be the Dolphins or the Jets. It might wind up being who winds up being healthier. I would love to think that we sweep them this year. I would love that more than anything to sweep those guys this year. But I also look at it in terms of if we're being honest, those division games are really, really hard to kind of like call and figure out. So they're going to be the team that I think come season's end, toe-to-toe with us. I think that game might really be for the division. If as a betting man, I would bet on a healthy New York Jets team beating these guys. But I really do believe that the division winds up being between Jets and the freaking Dolphins by season's end. So look again, the Patriots. I feel like I should not be so disrespectful because we really don't know what to expect from these guys. I know a lot of us are laughing because the roster is in shambles. They don't look very competent in terms of what they brought to the table. After seeing them last year, you're really noticing the decline of what was once a great Patriots team. But the football fan in me, man, keeps telling me, like, don't be that guy. Don't be the fan that gets so blinded by the hate you have for this team to think that they're not trying to figure this thing out too. They're trying to get better as well. Those guys are also getting paid NFL money to play in NFL games. I get nervous thinking about that because they've been so disrespected this entire offseason. Could we walk into freaking Gillette Stadium and get smacked in the mouth and caught off guard? Because that defense was still pretty damn good last year. I think we forget like a lot of those defensive pieces are back. They did get better at the quarterback position if we want to be honest with ourselves, right? I think Jacoby Brissett is a better quarterback than anything they had on the roster last year. Now, granted, after I think it's Stidley is his name, the running back, Ridley. After the running back, there's very little to like about that freaking offense. But these are guys that at the end of the day are getting paid NFL money to play NFL football. And division games are just such a bitch, man. I agree with you, Dan. I also see that. I do. What I'm saying is, what if one of those wins is against us? I think the Dolphins should sweep the freaking Patriots. I think we should sweep the Patriots. The Bills should sweep the Patriots. I don't think they should have a single win in our division just based off of the level of talent, you know what I'm saying, the gap in talent. But like you said, they're going to be scrappy. And what if one of those freaking wins is against the Jets? So I'm going to say I don't want to go ahead and downplay the Patriots, but I do believe they finished last in the division. If you're telling me today, gun to my head, how does the division play out? I think it goes Jets, Dolphins, Bills, Patriots. I think Jets and Dolphins both make the playoffs. But in a worst case scenario world, I think it goes Dolphins, Jets, Bills, Patriots. But we're not going to talk about that. This is a Jet show. So it's Jets, Dolphins, Patriots. That's how I have the season playing out. So for me, I'm just excited, man, because like it's training camp. We can actually start having topics to talk about when it comes to the game of football. No more of the he said, she said. No more of the what ifs, right? Like training camp is live. We're going to have great stuff to talk about throughout training camp. Wanted to kind of get on here today and kind of like just reestablish, hey, the Hangout is back open. The Hangar's open. We're back. I appreciate the super chats, man. I again, check out the membership aspect. I think a lot of you guys would enjoy that, especially the fantasy football would be great. And again, for my Fire Team Alpha members, for all that, I will look into that. There's a unique giveaway just for the Alpha Team members by season's end. I really think you're going to love that. But I appreciate you guys chopping it up with me, man. I just spent an entire hour talking about the Jets in the last couple of weeks, and nobody jumped on here and chopped it up with me. I didn't have no help. I'll say this, man. Guys like Jake Asman, freaking the AFC East Roundtable, bro. Well, no, they don't do it by themselves, man. I think they all. I mean, TD Finch Talk. I don't know if y'all watch him. He's a Miami Dolphins guy. Dude does this a lot, where he gets in front of a camera and just talks. And I give props to those guys, man, because doing this and just getting in front of a camera and talking, man, like it's hard. Like it's very, very hard. You gotta, and I have notes right now because of this new layout for the studio, so it keeps me on topic. But I appreciate all y'all, man. Dano, Infrared, Dan. Reading the comments does help, kind of like steers me towards more conversational points. Brees Hall is going to go wheels against the Patriots, but I agree with Brother Murphy. We will sweep the Pats. And I too believe we will. I would just be agitated if that was one of the losses we got against a team that we should not lose to. Dano, appreciate you, bro. Live on Tuesday, but I got you next week. All right, bet. I appreciate that, man. I dropped the link a couple of times, man. I was hoping you guys would jump on and kind of help your boys out. What TD Finch Talk? You suck. Nah, if you, I'm seriously though, like, so he's one of the most hated, I think, Miami Dolphins YouTubers, right? But if you ever watch his content, like, he's a guy who literally, I think he's honest. He doesn't have like the blinders on, like the big fan blinders on. On his show, he'll be honest. But if you see him on like the AFC East Roundtable, he's a fan, right? And I respect that. I respect the fact that like when it comes to other teams talking about his team, he don't care. He holds his ground. But on his show, when he's talking to like his fan base, the dude's just real about it. And I know a lot of fans hate him, but I've seen that dude call more things right about that team than other freaking Dolphins content creators. And as a Jets fan, I watch Bills content creators, Dolphins content creators, Patriots content creators. I'm always trying to understand what. So I watch all those teams, but I kind of want to know what the fans think about their teams too. I want to make sure when I'm seeing stuff like this, am I seeing it with the Jets fanboy goggles on? I kind of want to get an idea of how other fans think about their fan bases. So I watch a lot of their the Dolphins content creators because they have a lot too, just like the Jets do. I think Bills have like the fewest. Patriots have like one or two guys that I've been able to find. But in terms of the Dolphins, the person that I saw call more things right when I watched his show is TD Finch Talk, man. Like, again, but on his show. when he's doing his show, if he is on the AFC East Roundtable and whatnot, the dude just freaking, again, he's a fan, so he won't allow it, and I gotta respect that. For almost 3 years when he goes against Richie, I can't stand TD sticking ass. Nah, TD is definitely a character, man. But again, Infrared, if you were to just tap into his channel, you'll see a different side of TD. Because again, on the AFC East Roundtable, yes, he does make you want to hit him. I feel that. But if you just watch him on his channel, why am I over here talking about, another freaking channel? But anyway, we're Jets fans trying to better understand our competitors. But he gives you legit breakdowns of the team. And the dude has hit more than he's missed when I watch his freaking show. So just throwing it out there. I'm not dropping anything. Just figured y'all care to take a look at that. I saw a question that I wanted to answer. Who's this? Look at this guy.
Can you hear me?
No doubt.
Say something.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, I got my air on. All right. Look at this rookie mistake.
It happens to the best of us.
Hey, I know you're wrapping up, dude, but I really wanted to call and congratulate you, dude. I know how long of a journey it's been. This is a milestone moment, man.
Yeah, bro.
Congrats, dude. You're monetized.
I'm monetized, dog. I'm real now. Like I made it to the table. But yeah, man, I appreciate that, dog. It was funny. I was actually in Florida, and it was like the last couple of days of the trip. We left the house where the family reunion was going. We're back in the hotel. Everybody's passed out, sleeping. I get the notification. I hadn't gone through my notifications in a while, so I'm going to make sure I'm answering comments. I still was getting comments on older videos. And it's YouTube saying, congratulations, you become you become eligible for becoming a YouTube partner. And I was like, oh, snap. I click on it, reading the details, man. It was exciting. So, yeah, I appreciate that, bro. Year and a half doing this thing, man.
And honestly, like, I'm in the community quite a bit, dude. Your quality is top notch. It's just the hours, like, if they did it by number of likes or the ratio or like rewatchability or like staying to the end, dude, you'd have had it eons ago.
Yeah, I didn't. Honestly, bro, I wish I had done more research on how to know those things, right? Because I didn't really care much about it. It was just fun. But then people kept telling me like, hey, man, I'm trying to send you super chats. I'm trying to do this. And I was like, man, I must have gotten to that point where people want to contribute to the channel, which is great. And so I started looking into it and I realized, like, God, they did 4,000 view hour. I was like, bruh.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yes. But hey, I got here. Glad to be here, man. And if you were the first to give me a super, I appreciate you, brother. Good looking out. First live was definitely my boy freaking Danny Murphy, so I give him that. But much love, man, and I appreciate that. We do got a question though. I wanted to answer this before I jumped off. How does one start up a Jets podcast? Honestly, you get in front of any camera, whether it's your phone camera or your computer camera. Use your AirPod if you want to, and just start talking New York Jets. I think for me, if you go back to some of my first videos, I literally went out of my way to do all this big freaking stuff, and I got a camera, and it was trash. Like if you looked at it, I spent money to be trash. My microphone wasn't great, even though I spent money on something thinking I needed it. And it wasn't until I took all that stuff down and literally just started using my AirPods for a little while. Then my content really got better. And then I started investing into better quality stuff. But in all actuality, AirPods, if you've got them, or a good headset. I think, Daniel, you use a good headset too, right, for yours?
For me, dude, honestly, these are my most expensive item. They were $40, and I got like a $20 camera, $20 mic, $20 mic, arm thing. Honestly, though, the advice I would give though is in the beginning, less is more, like you're saying.
Yep.
Don't overextend yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you do too much, you're going to find yourself tapping out and saying, it's not working out. But that was because I was trying way too hard to do what the big boys who've been doing it for years to do. And that was my mistake because I didn't understand the importance of sound quality, lights. But I'm over here trying all this stuff. I had I left them on my channel on purpose. If you want to go back to some of the earlier stuff, you'll see it. It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
But over the years, this is a year and a half of doing it now. I've gotten my niche. But again, it's all about just getting in front of a camera, a microphone, AirPods, $40, whatever. Just get in front of a camera, because as you start doing it, you'll start seeing the results from it, because people love the authenticity of it all. And that's what made me keep doing it, man. When I just said, you know what, just fuck it. I just want to get in front of a camera and talk Jets. And then it was all about the authenticity that drew other Jets fans. So that's what we can say to you is just do it.
Yeah.
Just
do it. Do it for yourself, not for everybody else.
Not for anybody else.
Exactly. That's where I'm at. Like, I want to quit every other. If I tune into like Jetcast, have you ever turned them on and saw their video quality? It's like phenomenal. I'm like, okay, I'm a peon. But if I do it for me, though, then it's like, okay, well, if a few people relate to it, that's all I want, man. I just want a platform to speak.
And it's fun, man. When you're doing it for yourself, it's fun. And then again, Jets fans recognize real, which is why I love this fan base. They recognize real.
Nice.
Once I just started being myself and just said, fuck it, I just want to go ahead and talk Jets. Then I started getting engagement. I started talking to people, and it got fun, because then it was actually engaging with other individuals. But do it for yourself. Don't do it to be like freaking Jets talk 24/7, or don't do it to be like those guys have been doing it for years and have whole studio setups.
Facts. One thing I'll say about you, though, like, dude, you're all over. Like, you're on so many platforms. Like, that helps too.
Yeah.
I think, dude, you're on IG, you're on Twitter. That is very smart. And I don't do that, so I don't think I'll ever get where I want to be. But it helps if you're starting out from scratch to already have a little bit of a base, you know?
Yeah. Like the Twitter, the Instagram, and honestly, TikTok is really big too. And then most recently, I opened up my Facebook page. But again, just starting, man, is the thing. If you don't start, then what are we talking about? You're not going to get there. But just starting allows you the opportunity to go ahead and get to this point.
Daniel.
Hey, shout out to Daniel once again with the second live super chat of the evening, doubling up because F you, Dane.
Hey, what can I say to that, man?
Hey, I'll take it, bro. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate the support. But yeah, if you got time next week, man, jump on the show. We're gonna go ahead and talk training camp.
I did. I don't know. You've been on Midnight Mics, so like you know what they're about. Mike couldn't go tonight, and they always go at 10:10. So I said, hey, if I do a show, can I steal Maddie? So we're gonna do that. But I wanted to hop on. Tell me, is my quality is my mic
I was about to say it
loud?
looks good, brother. No, your mic is perfect. No, your mic is perfect. When you first jumped on, I was like, this is weird. What is that noise in the background? Because I haven't heard that before. It was the fan. So once you turn it off, it's real quiet back there. It's crisp. I'm loving the camera. The lighting that you have, is it LED?
It's a ring light.
Does it allow you to go ahead and do the temperature?
It does, up, down, whatever. Or
go down. I'm just trying to help my boy out real quick. Nope. Maybe right there.
Right here?
Right there. Because that separates your skin tone from the white blackboard. It was kind of throwing you off a little bit. Okay. I was sitting, I was like, yep,
that's
perfect.
the Casper effect, you know?
I was going to say, you know what I'm saying? My wife has had the same Casper effect before. But yeah. So now you separate your tone from the wall. But yeah, bro, looks good.
Hey,
like the setup.
I appreciate you.
And whenever you want to have me, oh man, okay, I see what this is now. Hey, hey, if this is what it takes, man, Dane needs some gray in that beard before I listen to him.
Listen, though, I did super chat at like noon because I'm like, if I throw this in at noon, everybody who comes here today is going to be like, oh shit, he's monetized. And then hop on and here YouTube wiped it after like 2 hours. I'm like, what the hell?
I appreciate you, bro. I saw it and I was just like, man, I don't know how I missed this earlier, but I appreciate you. But hey, Dan Murphy. And then we got freaking Scott Foster coming in with the big $5 freaking $4.99 freaking super chat. I'll take that. I appreciate you.
Hey, Gunny, I appreciate that you didn't saturate things to get to monetization sooner. That's what I appreciate. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I was talking to one of another YouTuber that I really follow and I love a lot, and he was just saying just keep putting content out there and out there and out there, and I was just like I'm not that dude. I don't want to get to the point where I'm
Yeah.
just throwing out there just to throw it out there, because then I feel like I lose being genuine. I'm just following the crowd. So yeah, I was advised that would allow me to get there faster, but to me it just didn't make sense.
Yep.
I want to stick to what I want to do.
Hey, you're a goat, and that's why. Have a good night, brother.
Have a good night, man. I'll see you next week.
Later.
All right, and that's the show for the night, man. Appreciate you, Dano, for jumping on real quick, having a little bit of a dialogue. I appreciate y'all, man. We got 55 in the group right now over 3 different platforms. But yeah, go Jets. Training camp is back, man. We're going to talk real football here as the season continues to progress. And oh wow, okay. I guess we just needed the floodgates to open up. The biggest super chat thus far of my short time monetized. Sharp instincts, man. Appreciate you. Congrats and Semper Fi, Gunny. I'll keep my Zach Wilson views quiet for now, but if Zach beats the Jets with the Broncos, I'll be starting the solid get fired countdown. Look, Sharp, real talk. If Zach Wilson beats the New York Jets as a Bronco, I think it's going to create such a massive divide of the fan base. I don't know if you'll be alone in being the person wanting him to get fired, because that would be a slap in the face. I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but Sean Payton did wonderful things with Drew Brees. Drew Brees was a good quarterback, not great before he left Philadelphia. I'm sorry, before he left the Chargers to go to New Orleans. So is he really a savant? I don't know, man. I don't know. We've all seen Zach Wilson in spurts do some pretty awesome things on the field, but the consistency was always the biggest thing, man. So I don't know. I hope that we don't see that personally. I would hate to see Zach Wilson beat us. I don't think he's going to. But man, if he does, I would not be upset if the Sonic gets fired crowd starts going off. So I appreciate the freaking super chat, man. That's awesome. Simplified, brother. And let's hope that that's not the case. And okay, I see what you guys are doing now. Now it's just it's just everybody's trying to go ahead and be the one-uppers. What's up, Dark Soldier? Congrats to my favorite Jets YouTuber. I appreciate that. Yo, real quick, man. Dark Soldier is the first individual ever that commented on one of my freaking videos. First guy ever, and he gave me a couple of pointers from jump. But overall, it was all love. It was all good stuff, man. He and I have stayed connected ever since. So, Dark Soldier, I appreciate you, bro, man. Like it's an achievement. Another one of the milestones you add to the rocker. So I appreciate the love and I appreciate the super chat. Man, you guys are freaking great. Love you, Dan. Look at all the love being shown, man. I appreciate you guys today. This is awesome, man. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys. Again, for all of you guys doing the big, huge donations, I urge you to look at the memberships, because I want to give back when you guys are providing, you know what I'm saying, this kind of support. And I really think the memberships are going to be able to offer another level for you guys as well. So nothing but love. I appreciate you guys. Can't wait to chop it up with you next week. If anything pops off, obviously, throughout the week, I'll be jumping on and dropping a video, of course, to talk about it. But looking forward to hanging out with y'all at the hangar again next week. So, as always, go Jets.